So if we look at Florian, you will see that it is comprised of a map screen. Along the left-hand side, we have what we call our menu panel, which houses the different tabs: map, incidents, personnel, messages, and options. Along the right-hand side, we have what we call our accountability anchor here. You're going to see that's not only going to list out certain personnel, it's going to allow you to filter them. It's going to allow you to also manually add personnel if you'd like to as well. This is going to show who's currently on scene, and it's also going to show who is en route, given the ETA marker right here. Along the bottom, if we go ahead and open up what we call our tool tray, you will see that there are different actions that we can take within Florian. We can create an area, we can create a structure, and we can also create a scribble. Once you create any of those or take any of those actions, they are then housed here under annotations. So we actually give you three separate map views. If we open up the map icon here, you'll see that we have satellite, terrain, and we also give you a street view. So what is the terrain mode? Well, the terrain mode is this what we call sort of our operational mode. You'll see that you get a nice 3D wireframe representation of the building, or a footprint also, if we're looking from a top-down perspective. We have the ability to go ahead and orbit around that, okay? So we can easily spin around the building, kind of see it from different vantage points, okay? We can lift or lower the camera height, okay? Obviously, we can zoom in, we can zoom out. Those are some of the things that, and as you see, it's very, very fast, okay? Now, what do we do with satellite? What would satellite be? Well, we overlay 3D satellite imagery onto that. So as you see now, we actually have a very detailed picture of the structure that we're about to visit. We can see things on the roof. We can see, air conditioning units. We can see air shafts. We can see that the building has sort of a courtyard set up in the middle of it. We can see the different heights of the peaks of the roof. We can see there's a small pitch here. We can even make out that this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is actually a 6-story building, if that has not already been provided to us. So there's a lot of information that we can gain from our satellite view. Now we take that a step further and we can see, you can only zoom in so far on this, okay? Obviously these are taken from a satellite, so they can only be so detailed. Well, if I were to go to our street view mode, click on that, now we can see I have a perfect representation of the front of the building. And these are updated far more frequently than the satellite images. So if I were to click over here, I can see, are there bars on these windows? I can see that there's retail down below. We can start to get a real understanding of the structure right when we're en route. So this is available on every MCT so that your firefighters now have a really good representation of the building that they are actually en route to. So there's a lot of things that I can pull from this. Look at this gate here. We can see that there's a gated courtyard area, just as we saw on the satellite. But now we understand that there's actually a gate here, so we might have to take some forced entry on that. So there's a lot of the 3 different map views that we give you. There's a lot of information that you can pull to understand the structure that you are about to be en route to. Now we understand what are the different roles. Well, we say the satellite is really for when you're en route. Okay, this is your lieutenants, these are your captains. When they're in the rig and they're on their way to the incident, they can gather this information, use it however they see fit to make the best decisions possible for whoever's first due. And then when you're on scene and you have commanders, you can hop back over to the terrain or satellite view, and we still have a nice representation of the building, but there isn't as much information to kind of process ourselves. So those are the 3 different map views that Florian provides you. Once again, we have satellite, we have terrain, and we also have down here on the bottom right, we have our street view. Now, if we look off to the right on our accountability anchor here, we're going to focus on that for just a moment. So you see we have engine tune, we have staged. We have certain company level features, and then we also have personnel level features. So what is the example of a company level feature? If we right click on engine 2, you'll see we can change the color for that entire company. We can raise that entire company to a specific floor, or we can sign them to an overall group. Okay. So what are the options for a personnel level? Well, we can sign them to a different company if we wanted to. We could say, hey, we're going to put you in engine 10. We can go ahead and we can make you the lead of that company or the lead of the overall group. We can send you to a specific GPS coordinate on the map just by simply dragging the map to where we want the crosshairs to be, pinpointing what those coordinates we want them to end up at are, and we go ahead and we click the plus button, and as you see, it's going to deliver a flag so that we understand exactly where they're supposed to be. Okay. Now, if we right click one more time, you'll see that we can manually move them if we want. We can target, and we can also reset deployment timers, all things that are available in the back end of Florian. And if we want, we can show the path of where they have been so far. So if I were to go ahead and want to change this color, I go to the company level options and I pick a color. Now they're an engine, so I'm going to go ahead and make them red. And I press the plus sign to have that take effect. And as you can see, our resource down here is showing as a red dot on screen. Something else that the accountability anchor allows us to do is what we call our focus feature. We can focus on specific resources just simply by clicking on them. So we can see right now, since this is tracking my computer in Buffalo, New York, and this incident is in Boston, it's going to show that I have an ETA of 6 hours and 28 minutes. If I wanted to click on that resource, it'll actually snap me directly to where they're located. So you see that I'm here in Harding Avenue, and this is in Western New York. So it does track the incoming resources, and we can actually focus on them and see exactly where they're located. If I want to get back to the scene of the incident, I can go ahead and click on this address down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Simply by clicking on that, it's going to center me back to the incident. So let's add one more person in here. Let's go to, let's add Nate, Rescue 1 here. Say that he's also en route at the corner of Newton Street in Washington. You'll see how these two dots interact now. And what I mean by the focus feature, if I were to click on Rescue 1 and focus on him, you're going to see that Engine 2 actually does gray out here. So that's what we call our focus feature, is being able to, not only can you expand and collapse them, see if I hide both of them, those resources are no longer seen. So it kind of clears the noise of the fireground. But if I expand them out, I can also further, say if I'm focused here on Rescue 1 and I click on Binda, this is now going to snack directly to them. Okay, so if I unclick, it'll unfocus. So those are just some of the actions that you can take within the accountability anchor. And you're going to see a lot more features are going to present themselves as we go through this tour, especially in terms of automation and alerting. Let's take a look at some of the actions that we can take within Florian. So if we open up our tool tray, you'll see that we have the option for an area, structure, and a scribble. How does an area interact? Well, if you click the area button, you're going to see you can either manually click and add points, okay? Or we can go ahead and draw those points out. So what I'll do is I'll just cancel this out. I'll create a new area and I'll use the draw function. You see we can draw more fluidly. So that is going to create more points, and sometimes things will overlap. I personally prefer to use the touch method, which is sort of geometric shapes and straight lines. We can do that. We can name the area. We can say collapse. And what is some of the functionality for these areas? Well, we can choose different throws. We can make a critical life alert, a warning, or a notice. And we can also pair that with a timer. So we can say that I want to know when somebody has been within this zone for 20 minutes. So we can change this to 20. And I'm going to make that throw a warning. I don't want to make it a critical life alert, and I don't want it to just be a notice. I do want to understand when they have been in there for that long. So, and let's go ahead and change this to rehab. So what we'd like to know is we'd like to know when somebody has been within this area for 20 minutes. And what's going to happen is, see, if I take our Engine 2 officer here, and I go ahead and move him within that, you're going to see that a timer starts. See how we get this word here, zone, and a timer starts? Also, once again, that power bar does show up. And that's going to start counting down. So now this counts down a timer. So me as a commander, I'm going to understand exactly how long somebody has been within that zone. We can also filter by those areas. If you see, we have one for deployment, we have one for rehab. So that is traditionally how areas work. Another feature that we have added, if I go ahead and zoom out here, is we've added what we call our iPause or our Amber Alert feature. So say that I wanted to go ahead and mark out this entire 3 blocks. There's a hazmat situation, and I want to warn all of these people of it. I can go ahead and name that shelter in place. Okay. And I can go ahead and save it. You'll see now, if I go back into that shelter in place, I have the option to evacuate. If I click on this, well, something that's really nice is this will actually allow us to evacuate or shelter in place. So let's click shelter in place. Here you'll put in a password, and then this is actually going to alert civilians directly to their cell phones using the Amber Alert system, otherwise known as iPause, to shelter in place because there's some sort of a spill or there is a hazmat situation that is occurring. So that's also another feature that we have in terms of areas. What are some of the use cases for scribbles? What we call scribbles is we call them a visual aid to a verbal command. If this was the building that we were working with, I could go ahead and click scribble, and let's say we want to name out the sides of the building. We have A, we have B, we have C, and D. Got our Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta sides. And go ahead and name that sides and save it. And that's going to stick directly to the map. And the nice thing is that this syncs across all devices so that all commanders understand exactly which sides that we are referring to, okay? And if you are a commander and you do this early enough in the incident, even your en route apparatus are going to understand. So if you say pull up to the Bravo side of the building, they know they're going to need to make a left on Worcester Street and park along the Bravo side of the building. So here we obviously have the sides of the building. What if I wanted to convey the direction of the wind? Well, I can go ahead and change that scribble, and I can say our wind is heading this way, and that is at 10 miles an hour. Okay, 10 miles per hour. And I'll name that wind. Save it. Once again, that sticks directly to the map. Now we have a feature where under this, you could actually hide scribbles if you want. So we can clear some of the noise of the fireground, okay? Or we can show those. So it's going to stick to the map. It's going to be visible for everybody. Those are some of the use cases and things we can do with scribbles. So a few more features I'd like to go over is what we call our en route features, okay? Now that does give us hands-free use and also gives us turn-by-turn directions. We'll start with turn-by-turn directions. Say you're en route to an incident and you want to know the fastest path to get there. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that we have this little, looks like a little street sign with an arrow. If we click on that, now this is going to calculate from where I am in Western New York because it's tracking this resource here. So since I am logged in here, it's going to give me directions from Western New York all the way to Boston. Now we can see it gives us an ETA. We can also expand this out and it'll give us a written list as well if we want to go ahead and we want to be able to see that. This way we can be a little bit more resourceful. Maybe we can acknowledge that Stewart Street is often busy and we want to avoid that. It will always recalculate and give you the fastest route based on your current location. So in order to exit from navigation, it's very simple. We just click the button Exit Navigation. We also have things that if we want to drag the map and we'd like to recenter, we can click the recenter button. It's going to bring us back to our current location. So I'll go ahead and exit navigation. I'm just going to go ahead and return to the incident now by clicking on the address down below. If I click that, one more thing I'd like to show you is our hands-free feature. We understand that not every chief has the ability to have a chauffeur. And when you're driving, you want to be able to keep your hands free. It's very important for safety. So we've acknowledged this and we've worked in a few hands-free features into Florian. What are those? Well, it allows us to see our 3 different views, okay, which is our terrain, our satellite, and our street view. We can pop any of those up, and we can also pull up the incident details and view 911 caller notes. So how do we do that? We simply say the word Florian. So what we'll do is we'll say, Florian, show satellite. You'll get a chime to acknowledge that it's heard you, and the satellite view will become visible. Florian, show terrain. Florian, show street. Florian, hide street view. Florian, show details. Florian, hide details. So as you can see, those 2 features, they're very, very simple to use. They just aid when you are en route to an incident and you want to know A, the fastest way, and B, you want to be safe along the way and be able to explore different map views without having to touch the screen. Now, one of our most important features we feel is our Mayday feature. And we created this really so that the fire service could have a redundancy. We know that the 2-way radio is the lifeline of the fire service, and we didn't want to replace that. What we wanted to do is we wanted to add an extra failsafe. Now, simply by saying the words Mayday, 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 You see that change take place. And one of the really great features is that it alerts the commander. So if a commander, incident commander, or safety officer obviously has a tablet or a tough book with Florian running on it, they're immediately going to be notified and they're going to be given this critical life alert here. Okay, so if I were to go ahead and clear that, we're going to test this out. I'm going to show you one more feature. Even if you were to go ahead and collapse all of these resources down, if I were still to say that, Mayday, 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 you're actually going to see that resource in the top right-hand corner, it explodes out to let you know exactly who is called the Mayday. It's also going to help bring your attention to the location. So if I go ahead and click on this resource here, you're going to see the dot is going to turn red as well. And I'll show you how that works right now. Even if they were hidden, if they call that Mayday, 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 see how that dot appears on screen? So something that's really valuable and gives a really great redundancy just to make sure if somebody gets stepped on or they're having some sort of radio problems, we will be able to capture that Mayday and make that visible on screen for you as well.